welcome to another episode of Anything and Everything with Donna Lisa. I'm your host, Donna Lisa, and today's special guest I have is Cathey Kuo. She is a commercial broker, and she also does some residential as well, but also an angel investor, and she's also on the Forbes Council, the board of the Forbes Council. So welcome, Cathey.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
thanks for having me, rather.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for doing this. I know how busy you are, so I appreciate you taking time out of your evening. Just wanted to get into you because you're just amazing. I follow you on social media. You're a busy gal. You're a go-getter, and you're constantly nonstop. So let's talk a little bit about your background, how you got started in business and got involved in commercial real estate.
Sure. So my family has been investing in real estate since pretty much I was a baby, but I got involved in the family business when I was about a teenager. You know, it's the rags to riches American dream. We came here, like my parents came here rather, like dirt poor, $5,000, like with, while my mom was pregnant with my brother. And we really didn't have much growing up. And so it was like that, really like the ramen noodles kind of for like eating spaghetti, the cheapest thing.
You were rationing your noodles.
Yeah, so I learned from an early age, that like I knew I didn't want to be there forever, and I knew the meaning of hard work. And I was, I think you look Asian too, right? As Asian, an Asian child, basically, you're involved in family business really early on. So basically, as soon as I can use a computer, around 12, 13, I was helping with the underwriting, reviewing and drafting up contracts and things like that, because English was the second language for my parents. And so I was their translator. And so I've been reviewing basically real estate contracts since I was like a teenager.
That's awesome.
And then, studied real estate in college. Basically, I was one of those few who actually kind of used their college degree into business school. Studied real estate in college. And then I applied for basically one job when I was about to graduate. It's at CBRE. It's called the Wheel Program. And it's essentially their graduate trainee program. It's about 600 applicants apply for the position every year, and there's 5 people that get it. And basically, because you get to learn every facet of commercial real estate. So I was very fortunate in that I made it that less than 1% that got it. And so I got to learn from the best of the best in New York City. Yeah, so my old teams, I worked with like the #1 investment sales team in New York City. I worked with one of the top office teams in New York City. They did like Thrillist, WeWork, Sony. Those are like some of the big names that you guys might know in terms of brand recognition. I worked on like the global corporate services, which service American Express and McGraw-Hill. So these are like, I started kind of my career at the top of it, like with these Fortune 500 companies as clients, and relocated to Vegas in 2014 for investing, tax, and business opportunity primarily.
Smart move. Yeah.
And then so it's a very different ball game out here, but I absolutely love it. Like, it's a lot more small businesses, mom and pop, and like I love that kind of stuff. I worked with a lot of corporate clients in New York, and personally that wasn't as fulfilling for me. Like I love helping small business owners. I love helping people like my family that made it from nothing.
Right. Oh, I totally get it. That's awesome. You've worked with some pretty big names up there. You brought up the Asian like upbringing and stuff. Totally get it. My parents, my dad grew up in the Philippines and helped run his father's business at a very young age. And same here. My mom had a hair salon, and at the early age of maybe 6 or 7, my brother and I spent our after school and on weekends sweeping up hair and emptying ashtrays, because they could smoke in the salons then. So totally get that. And then by the time we graduated high school and were in college, we helped they purchased a franchise in Hawaii, and we were managing it. So totally get where you're coming from with that. And but I broke away from the family business and thought, you know what, I just want to get into something else and study business. But yeah, I think that's great, because it kind of helped prepare you for what you're doing now, which is awesome. So you've been here since 2014, so not very long at all. How long did it take you? Yeah. I mean, how long did it take you to get adjusted to the Las Vegas lifestyle and, everything regarding real estate here in Las Vegas?
Not too long, actually, because so I came shortly after my family acquired most of our properties. There's only one acquisition that happened after I came here. And so it was very interesting because I stayed with CBRE because that's where I was when in New York. So I did an internal transfer, stayed with the company for only about 6 months, honestly, to kind of learn the market a little bit. And then I just went back to take over our family portfolio. And basically, we focus on value add opportunities. So it's a little bit different than most investors that are looking for a cash rate and like the cash flow and cap rate, basically. So what we're looking at is price per square foot. But what that usually means is that there's a lot of vacancy. So we buy the properties that maybe like 50 to 60% occupancy, or sometimes even less than that, and we lease it up. And so my job was really to find the tenants, do the marketing, lease it up, increase the income. And so that's what I focused on for a while here. And through that, I learned a lot about the market, and I was just on the investor side of the table for a while. But I actually went back to the brokerage side about like 2 or 3 years ago, kind of slowly transitioning, you know, taking on a few clients here and there, because I realized a lot of my friends were business owners and investors, and they were just like, there's no one who like can help us, basically. They're like, we've tried to talk to commercial brokers, they either are not knowledgeable or they only specialize on the listing side. And so my team, what I created, I have 2 agents that work directly with me on just commercial real estate, and we're buyer and tenant reps. And so it's a very specialized niche in the commercial market, in that like no one else is really doing what we're doing. Like a lot of people are listing agents, or they're like industrial specialists or office specialists, but they're not an acquisition specialist, which is really what we are. And it's a very different negotiation and strategy than it is on the listing side. So the way I explain it to people is kind of like you have a plaintiff's attorney or a defendant's attorney. Everyone has their niche and what they're good at, and that's what I realized, that people didn't know how to negotiate on behalf of a buyer. They're so used to negotiating on behalf of the seller. They're like, you know, like if we were to dig deep, let's say a little bit, like, you know, when they're marketing a property, for instance, right, for an investment property, they might be like showing 10 out of 20 expenses that are actually incurred to make the numbers look better. But then on a buyer rep, I'm like, I think you guys are missing like 5 or 10 expenses out there, you know? And so I can kind of scrutinize that and then pinpoint it and help my buyers figure that out.
That's awesome. And so at what point in your career did you think, okay, this is kind of the route I want to go? You know, after dealing with all the big other corporations and.
So it was really like, you know, the best businesses, and I come out of seeing a need. And for me, it was like, when I came here, sat on the investor side of the table, have friends that are business, and sat on the business owner side of the table, just having friends that are business owners and investors, and hearing kind of their problems and issues, where they're like, oh, we can't find someone who knows how to find properties, who knows how to negotiate on our behalf, or we signed this awful lease for our business and now we're stuck in it, and our agent never even reviewed it for us or didn't explain what this actually meant that we were signing on into. And so for me, it's just this, like, I love helping what I consider the underdog, you know, like the people like my family who have come here, who have, like, you know, built up a lot of times investing their life savings, you know, built up with their family over the years. Because the institutional guys, they have all the professional help they need. You know, like the Fortune 500 companies, the big institutional investors, like, even like, I mean, I have some bigger clients now that are syndicators, but most of them are also family businesses that built from, you know, nothing up to like a 30, 40, 50, $100 million portfolio. And so even though there are some of those clients now that are buying these $20 to $30 million properties that we're working with, they're also not really the big guys. They're like, no one would recognize their name. If I told you their name, you wouldn't know who they were, because they started from a family portfolio just like I did. And basically they're like second generation of family portfolio and built it up. And so those are kind of like my ideal clients, the people who are really like passionate about what they're doing and really like are mission driven as opposed to money driven. Like, I think money motivation is great, but I think it only gets you so far. Like, if you're passionate about what you do, that's what's going to drive you.
Absolutely. So you're definitely passionate about helping others.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, and I always ask my guests this, obviously you have to get up and get yourself going every day.
Yeah.
How do you motivate yourself? Is there like a daily affirmation or a quote that you like to start your day off with?
Yeah. So one of my favorite quotes right now, and it's on my Facebook page cover, is basically, it's a Zig Ziglar quote, and it's like, you can achieve anything you want as long as you help other people achieve what they want. And so
I like
my
his
goal,
quotes.
yeah, my quote, like, that's one of my things that drives me, you know, like helping others build wealth and paying
Right.
it forward, because yes, I've worked hard, but a lot of people have worked hard, you know, and so it's really, yes, I've worked hard, but like I've been fortunate to be able to enjoy the fruits of my labor from working so
Right.
hard. And so it's teaching that next generation how to achieve financial freedom through real estate, whether you're an agent or an investor or a business owner. And that's why when Lisa came to me with the idea of starting the brokerage, I was like,
Right.
I'm in, like, because at the
Yeah.
time so when Lisa came to me with this idea and this business opportunity, I was actually just an investor on the investor
Okay.
table as a business owner. And so I was like, honestly chilling, like after years of
Uh-huh.
like hustling, I was like going to the gym 2 hours a day, like
You're good.
I didn't have to work weekends, you know, like just kind of like coasting by, to be
Yeah.
honest. You know, like I was like very like had a lot of free time, so I went into this bodybuilding phase of like going to the gym 10 hours a week so that I could
Nice.
fill my time with something productive. And then I was like, do I really want to hop back into startup mode, basically?
Hmm.
And for this, the answer was yes, because it's not just money. If I wanted to make more money, I would stay on the investor side of the table, make a lot more money with a
Right.
lot less time as an investor, because I had that basis already.
Right.
But to me, it was about building something greater than ourselves, than myself, which is like paying it forward, doing something
Yeah.
that's fulfilling, doing something that's helping others, and filling a need, you know, it's just filling a need, helping people build that, because you're licensed, you're in the industry, I'm sure you know,
Yeah.
like a lot of places, what we noticed when we were agents starting out, there I've seen the best of both worlds, and I'm
Hmm.
fortunate for that. Like I've seen the best and the worst, and my team in the beginning was amazing, and I want to replicate that. And that, like, they really mentored me, like they let me work on those big deals with them,
Right.
you know. And
Right.
not a lot of people are presented with those opportunities, and that's what we do. Like, you know, we have agents that are like 2 or 3 years in doing $4 or $5 million deals. Most
Right.
agents don't see that for 10, 15 years into their career.
That's
And I
so
have like agents that are a year in, you know, because she's working directly with me, I
hmm
let her work on, like I have her work on my deals, which she's seeing a $22 million deal on her
that's
first year in real
awesome.
estate.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, I totally get it. So like you're right. A lot of people don't have that opportunity to have people kind of coach them and mentor
Mm-hmm.
them. And it's great that you guys do that. I know you and I talked offline. I was in real estate years ago, got
Yeah.
into the events industry because that's what I was passionate about. And
Mm-hmm.
during the shutdown was like, okay, we're all completely shut down. Nothing's happening. What do I do?
Yeah.
And my real estate friends have been trying to get me to go back for years. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, okay, I'll go back and get licensed. So
Yeah.
did that. And it's interesting because of my network, and I get fed leads through friends and family.
Yeah.
It's your circle of friends, but the brokerage I work for, they don't feed you leads. And I do have a girlfriend that started off with me at first, and she was like, I'm just not like you. Like, I don't have a huge network and I don't know how to go out and find the business. And so she left to another brokerage that actually fed them leads and had a great mentorship program.
Mm-hmm.
It was more for her. And
Yeah.
I was like, awesome, that's good. But yeah, you're right. A lot of people don't get these deals after
Yeah.
maybe over 5 to 10 years. So that's
Mm-hmm.
awesome that you do that. And circling back, for those of you listening and tuning in, Lisa is actually Cathey's partner, and I had Lisa on a previous podcast. So that's kind of how I connected. I was kind of stalking you on social media. I saw you. I was like, well, who's this other partner of hers? And I'm like, oh, she's got a lot going on. So you also, aside from your busy schedule with work, you also are involved in like a lot of networking events. Like you network with a lot of CEOs,
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurs. So let's talk a little about that.
Sure.
You spend a lot of your free time with these other business owners,
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurs. Is it just for you to help them with like needs that they have, or is it for you to brainstorm, on what your future plans are?
I think it's all of the above and
Okay.
more. So it's like everyone that's an entrepreneur has their own expertise and realm of genius, as we
Yeah.
call it, you know, and everyone's good at what they're good at. Because some of these people that I network with, like, you know, they're years ahead of me in terms of business, or like they 10x what my revenue is, but they don't know anything about real estate. And so they'll ask me for advice about like real estate investing and how you use real estate and tax strategy. And I'll ask them for advice on like
Right.
org charts and like KPIs that I just learned, you know, and things like that. So everyone kind of has their niche. And I love it because I don't know if you've heard of the concept, but I'm big on like personal and mindset development.
Yeah.
And Tony Robbins is one of the people I follow, and he talks about this concept called peer groups. And having the peer groups, it's a concept that I think a lot of these thought leaders do. Like, you are the culmination of the 5 people you spend the most time with type of deal. And so I have some local groups that I kind of like naturally curated through my client circles. Like I serve so many business owners, that's my clientele. And then they become friends of mine oftentimes. And I just recently actually joined an organization that's an official one called EO, or Entrepreneurs Organization. And that one's international. And it basically is intended for business owners who have achieved $1 million up in gross revenues. And then there's also an accelerated program for business owners who have achieved 250,000 in gross revenues, but haven't hit that million and want to. And it's like a mentorship program. Like, we're fortunate. We have achieved that million in gross revenues, but that's a common misconception, I think, of a lot of people who don't realize what business is like, that gross revenues does not equal net. You can have multi-millions in gross revenues and still be in the red. And most of the household names that we see, like these tech companies, are like that. The Zillow, the Uber, like all of these, they're actually in the red. If you actually look at their financials, they have millions upon millions in revenues, but their expenses exceed their revenue. And so we're like, we have the revenue right now, but for us it's scaling, and basically
That's, you do make a great point, because a lot of people see like the bigger picture, but they don't, they see on the outside, but looking out from the inside, they don't see the bigger picture. Like, a lot of these companies are in the red. So that's a great point.
And that's what's helpful about like networking with these other entrepreneurs, because we kind of like understand, like a lot of people are like, oh, business owners are so greedy. They're like, no, all these business owners I know, they're like, we're doing it for our mission or passion. Like most business owners I know, like, luckily we're like, knock on wood, we've been very fortunate, we haven't had to do this, but I know so many business owners who have literally pulled out of their own savings, they pulled out loans to pay their staff when they weren't getting paid anything. And like, they were literally in the red. Like they not only didn't pay themselves, but they used their own savings, they used like loans, they used whatever they could just to make sure their staff got paid. And so
I know a few people like that. That's tough.
And it's different, and that's why it's like a different conversation when you have like a circle of that people understand that they're like, oh, you're a business owner, you must have a lot of money, and it's like a lot of our money goes back to the business or the building, and often we're paying so that our staff can make money, or that our team can make money.
And that's great, because I like the fact that you did mention that you have an agent that's working with you right now, and on a $22 million deal, which is amazing. And you're sharing that with her. Whereas a lot of brokers who are working brokers, we consider them working brokers, they're actually sometimes competing with their staff or their agents. So it's nice that you do that and you share that, with her. But that's awesome. This is all like great advice for somebody like interested in trying to get their feet wet into like the commercial real estate side, or investing side of what you do. What would you recommend them? Of course, there are a lot of people that probably watch a lot of videos, read a lot of books. I keep, and I'm a huge advocate of this. It's like, you can read all you want and gain all this knowledge, but if you're not applying it, it's not doing you no good. Right?
Oh, I'm on the same page as you. We're like,
it's because I have friends all the time, they're like spitting out all this knowledge. I'm like, that's great, but what are you actually doing about it, to get started? And you're going to fail. Failures, that's the only way you actually learn. Believe me, like I've seen my parents' business, they had a couple businesses, I started a couple, and you fail, then you learn, and then you either sell, pull out, whatever, and then you get into something else. But until you find what really works for you, you're never going to learn until you actually get out there and do it. Yeah,
I agree. Like, you're speaking my language. That's exactly what I tell people, like, all the time. It's like, I definitely agree. Like, you need to fail. Failure is like your best lesson. And people, I think a lot of people just, they see the road to success. They think it's like an overnight success. And I think social media, honestly, it doesn't help, unfortunately, because it shows the highlight reel, and people are like, build this $1 million business in 6 months, but they didn't talk about the 6 or 10 years that they spent failing to learn all the lessons, get all the tools, like, all the connections that it took to build that $1 million business in 6 months. So there's a lot that goes before that is along the road to success, I think. So I would say, like, to get started, in commercial real estate, I actually, my team now, they, you know, they both kind of like came to me, and
right.
I get people probably on a weekly basis, at least 1 or 2 calls a week, whether it's residential agents asking for advice or asking to work on my team or asking me to mentor them.
Right.
And I say no to 95% of people.
Really?
And yeah, so it's like, I do want to build a team, but kind of circling back to what I was saying before, one thing that I really look out for is that passion and that drive and that care. Because if they tell me like, oh, I was like, why do you want to go into commercial? I asked, this is one of my, you know, kind of filtering questions. If they tell me, oh, it's a lot of money, I'm like, next, you know, like, no, like, just because if you're just in it for the money, you're not going to survive. It's tough, as you know, real estate's tough, but commercial is even tougher. And, you know, you have to be in it for the passion. Like, the agents that work with me, they genuinely are like me. They want to help business owners. They understand some of these clients, they're pouring their life savings into their dream to start a restaurant, to start a business, whatever it might be. Like, you have to actually care about them and be discerning. Like, I'm that, and same with investors even, you know, like, people talk about investors like, oh, they have all this, but a lot of these people, like, they sacrifice, they grind it through the years to get that money to invest. You know, you don't want to just like throw it away. And so I'm that person who will tell like clients to walk away from the deal if it's not something I would get into. I'd be like, it's not a good deal. I don't care if I have to start from square one. So if someone says they're in it for the money, they're going to be that person that tries to pressure clients into like signing something that's not in their best interest because they don't want to start over, because it's easy money, whatever it is. Like, that's not the person I want on my team. I've actually done the opposite, where I'm like, hey, we're at the signing table, we got the lease or we got the contract, and I'm like, given the terms that they're not budging on, we might want to start at square one.
Right.
And I've done it more than once, and clients appreciate that. And that's how I've built a business that's 100% referral based. Like, I'm fortunate, I've never paid for ads. All of my clients come through past clients, through realtors, actually residential agents that I know, and through other business leaders and people in the community, because they know that I have that integrity. And so that, I would say, if you want to get in commercial real estate, don't do it because you think it's easy money. Do it because you love helping business owners, you love capitalism, you love the American dream, you love helping people build wealth, and then you'll succeed.
That's good advice. That's so true. It's that typical sales role. I mean, I've been in sales all my life. I used to work in hotel sales, and you hear what some people are promising clients, and you're like, really? I would never agree to do it, but okay, that's what you want to do to get the sale. Totally get it. No, that's great. I mean, it's nice that, you know, you have like these, of course, I get it, because my parents were probably just like yours, where they invested their entire life savings into starting, you know, getting into a franchise. And it's like, okay, you know, you have to kind of, you know, understand their situation and make sure that you're doing the right thing for all the money they're investing, for sure.
And it's very personal. Like, I'm sure you get it, given your story too. It's very similar to mine. I read this other quote that really resonated with me. It's like, you know, as the child of immigrants, our parents were tasked with the job of survival, and us with the task of self-actualization and fulfillment. Like, what a privilege that is.
Right.
And so for us to be in this position as this, you know, the children of the immigrants, we've seen their struggles and we've seen what they sacrificed. And like, I would never like screw someone like my parents over. That's the way I think of it. Like, what if that was my mom? You know, like, what if that was my parents? Like, and that's why the people who are just like, I just want to get a deal done, like, I just want to make as much money, like, I'm like, there's a million ways to make money. You don't need to do this. Like, you need to do this because you are truly passionate about helping people.
Right. No, I completely agree with you. Even on the residential side, when I'm dealing with, you know, buyers or sellers, and sometimes I see like a deal and I'm like, you know what, personally, I don't think it's a smart thing for you to do, but it's ultimately your choice. Here's why. And then they do appreciate that. They're like, oh, you know, thanks. You're not just out there to try to sell me a house or, you know, sell my house and make all this money. I'm like, no, I'm definitely trying to look out for you and what your best interest. So yeah, that's awesome. Well, I appreciate you sharing all your ideas and tips. You definitely have a lot of information that you can, you know, share with folks. I love that you're so involved with the community of business owners, and, you know, you're continuing to do more, which is nice. So I love following you on your social media. I love all the funny videos that you do. Very educational though. Some of them are very educational. And it's nice that you show, I just saw one recently where you were grinding at like 11 o'clock at night. And I was like, this girl does what I do. I'm always up late at night doing extra stuff, aside from like my full-time job. Then I go in and everyone's like, why are you still working? I'm like,
right?
That's what I do. So
I love it.
It's nice that they see the grind, because they can see all the great stuff that you have, but they don't see how you get it and how hard you're working to achieve all that success. So awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much, Cathey, for sharing your story. Definitely would love to connect again in the future. And I wish you much more success this year. It's going to be an amazing year for everybody. Hopefully we can meet in person soon.
You too. Yeah. Let me know. I mean, if you can make it Wednesday night, I'm doing a event.
Okay. Yeah. I saw that. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Definitely. Well, thank you. Enjoy your evening, and we'll definitely be in touch again.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
Enjoy your evening too. We'll keep in touch.
Bye-bye. You too.